can we go back to, I paid for this, I get this. I have been aging badly, very badly, to the point that I have my espresso, I enjoy it. My gray hair, I like it. My experience, I wouldn't call that a plus, but it's a plus in some situations, let me tell you. But I've been aging, and what made me notice this, one, music. You know, there are very few good music, but I've said that for decades, except the 90s. 90s had great music, but right now, Ray, R-A-Y-E, great music. Great music, oh my God. That lady, her live performance, her CD is great, but her live performance is something else. And so I'm saying that because it's just dawning on me, you know, I'm getting older. So our interns at work, you know, they're like great. They're fantastic. They're smart, and they're wonderful people. But they have a look on life that is, it reminds me of Gen X, and that's what makes me feel like Gen X. A little jaded, you know, a little bit realistic about how companies work and how the world works, and it's like sort of just shocking to me because, you know, you see in media and you see, oh, kids today, blah, blah, blah. No, kids today are pretty smart. But anyway, it's just hitting me that I am aging a little bit. And actually, one of the things that made me notice it, if you'll notice, I've been shooting lately in this 4/3 format, it's open gate. And whenever I saw it, I was like, man, this is actually how I'm accustomed to seeing TV. And it dawned on me, it's because the old TVs are 4/3 aspect ratio and not 16:9. And that dawned on me like, oh yeah, I miss the 4/3, except for when you watch TV shows that have multiple people, because as you see, you don't have much space here. You have space here, but not much here. So when you get two people in the screen, it's like, imagine this is another person. Like they talk like this, and it's shocking. It's so funny to see how they used to block TV. And I don't know. I started watching older shows like Star Trek: The Next Generation, and not Voyager, but Voyager, yeah, and Deep Space Nine. And when they did like the long body shots with multiple people, they had to zoom way out, and it was just it's a totally different aesthetic. And so whenever I started shooting with this Panasonic and OpenGate, I was like, man, I really like the 4/3 aspect ratio so much better than I do the 16:9, you know, where like you're scrunched in, you know. And anyway, I wanted to say that just because the world's changing and it's changing, but that doesn't mean that I don't have access to things I used to love. And combine them with things that I love for the future. So yeah, all I'm saying here is whatever you like, you know, the world is just open to it, and it's wonderful. And I say that because what I found was on the Internet Archive, the entire publication of Electronic Gaming Monthly is online, and the entire one. And the funny thing is, because I'm so old and I'm such a geek and such a nerd, whenever I see like, hey, here's Double Dragon 2, or here's Mega Man, or here's something, and it's in that magazine format, I remember buying that paper. And it was $3.95, and my dad would take me to the newsstand, and you know, and it really was. It was called the newsstand, and it wasn't like the old newsstand. It was a standalone shop in a place in downtown where they had revitalized downtown. So there was actually a magazine shop, and he would buy a magazine, and I would get a gaming thing. Till I got a subscription, and I was like, ooh, man, that was the best thing ever. But I found the Internet Archive, and I was like, man, that takes me back, because there's nothing like that now. Like EGM still, or no, IGN now, you know, they still do reviews and blah blah blah, but it's not the same as waiting and then flipping through the magazine. You could smell the paper and you could just hold it in your hands. And that takes me back to the other thing that I saw the other day, where someone was saying cassette tapes are coming back, and I'm like, I hate the sound of cassette tapes because there's hiss. I just don't like it. I don't like vinyl because, you know, that whole, it's warmer, blah, blah, blah. CDs are fine. How you process the CD, that's different. But What is totally different, and the reason why I'm actually out here like blah, 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 and talking my keister off here is because we're entering an age that's pissing me off. It truly is. And I'm going, them kids are Kids are wonderful. It's not the kids. It's the people who are my age and older who say, how can we wring as much money out of everything possible? And someone went, let's make them subscribe. Let's make them pay for a service. And so when I buy music, I'm only buying digital now, which they can take away. So if I buy a service and say I go to Spotify or Amazon Prime, even Amazon Music, and they take off music, I paid to have access to that music. I wanted that music. And what I'm finding is a lot of services now are taking away the music that I wanted. And so to me, it's kind of like, if companies want to know why piracy doesn't go away, it's that reason. That's why piracy doesn't go away. We want what we pay for. And it's mind-boggling to me that is such a hard thing to understand. Going back to the video games, when I bought a video game, it was $20. I got the hard piece. I got the actual game. I got to chug it in. I got to slam it in. Atari 2600, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Dreamcast, PlayStation, N64, all of those. I got to put something into it. It was mine. It would play forever. I keep it offline and nothing updates. It works. It works. It just works. I pay my $20, $50, $10, $5. Dreamcast games were on sale for $5 used. They were amazing. The used market was great. But yeah, I always got to use it. Now you can log in and be like, ooh, that game's discontinued and we won't give you access to it. What? And it dawned on me, this lady who was talking about the return of tapes, it's because it's physical. It's because you own it. When you buy a tape, it's yours. You know, you can make a copy of it. You're not supposed to, give them away, but you can copy it. You can do whatever. It's yours. You can't play it for profit, but the tape itself, they can't take that away. They can't come to your house and go, ooh, that music is not yours. Do you hear that? Like, that's not yours. And I remember when Prince was talking about, whatever you do if you're a musician, don't sign away the rights to your music, because they will make money on you for infinity, decades after you're gone. Prince and Michael Jackson, sadly, are worth more dead than alive. And that's the saddest thing ever, because they knew the rights. But that goes back to the whole music thing and blah, 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 licensing. I'm just saying, all I want in this world right now is stuff that you can buy again. I'm so sick of rent or subscription, or hell, my last freaking, the way they got my software, my passwords and everything, that was called malware as a service. Somebody paid about $100 to $150 or possibly even $200 if they got the pro version of a malware piece of software they could use for 1 month. Like, do you hear that? Malware as a service, software as a service. Adobe. If you want to know why I run DaVinci Resolve and not Adobe, it's for that reason. Adobe went to a subscription. I said, fuck you, and I'm out. I think a lot of people did. And then you find out what Adobe's doing with your data. That stuff is crazy. You have pictures, you submit them, they do their AI stuff, they're using your work. They're charging you for your work. This world is just crazy. And it goes all the way back to where people are like, oh, kids today. It ain't kids. It's people my age or older than me who are trying to wring every freaking dollar out of us. And I don't get it. It's insane. It's insane. So with us saying that, I'm like, there's a new meme going around, and I'm not saying, I do not advocate piracy. I really don't. But if you're not buying the software, then pirates aren't stealing the software. They might be stealing the service, but the software itself, that's not what's being sold anymore. Your access to the software is what's being sold. And that's where it's mind-boggling to me. So if anyone ever said, hey, why did you switch from Adobe, which I love Photoshop. I actually do. I love Photoshop. I love Premiere. I thought they worked great for the most part. Premiere sucked when it crashed, and it crashes a lot. But if someone's like, why did you go and buy DaVinci when you had Premiere? It's like, because I didn't have Premiere. The last full version of Premiere I had was CC 2016, which they even tell, I think it's 2016. Anyway, CC, the CC version before they started all the dates and whatnot, which they even tell you now you're not really allowed to use anymore. Like, what the freak, Adobe, man? You're going back on software I purchased? And someone will come and say, hey, you bought that car 10 years ago. It's not yours anymore. I bought it. I bought it. I don't understand this. How are we in this world where I go out, pay hundreds of bucks for a freaking piece of software, and someone come back and be like, yeah, you can't use it anymore. F you. F you. That's all I got to say about that. Like, fuck off. Take it. Anyway, I say all that because I am aging and I do see the world changing. And I love parts of the world. And like DaVinci, to give you an example, I like gaming. So Baldur's Gate comes out and it's like phenomenal. It's great. And then you learn about the guy who ran the software division, and you're expecting him to be like, oh, he's a slave driver and we did crunch time. They did minimal crunch time. The team loves each other. The voice actors get together, hang out because they were treated decently. That's what I want. Like, how are we in a spot where nobody's treated decently? How are we in a spot where everything is, how much money can I get from you? I live in a community, in an area rather, where houses are bought by companies. They're not even bought by people anymore. Not the majority anyway. It's starting to swing back, thankfully, but mostly because people, when they go to sell their house, they're saying, hey, we're not selling to companies. You have to be a person, you have to want to live there. Because these houses are being sold to companies who are turning around renting them. And rent is crazy. I cannot imagine how someone's living right now having to rent. I just don't get it. I bought a house 14 years ago, which doesn't sound like that long really, but it's been 14, good Lord. I am getting old. But anyway, I bought a house 14 years ago. It was right out the edge of my budget. But now it would be, if I were to pay as much for an apartment in the city, I would have to live way outside the city, and it would be 1/8 the size, about 700 square feet. Is that right? No, 1/6 the size, about 600 square feet. That's about how much of an apartment I can afford here. Whereas I have a house that I bought 14 years ago that I just happened to buy. Same, mortgage prices. Yeah. If I always tell people I can't afford to live in my neighborhood because of what happened. And a lot of that's just people coming in, or I say people, well, I guess corporations are people now. A lot of that's just corporations coming in, buying the house, turning around, renting it to people, taking houses off the market. That's insane to me. But if you want to be happy, go to the Internet Archive. I linked it down below. The entire EGM catalog's on, and I'm telling you, I can smell the pages. It just makes me happy. It really does. Just the thing is, oh man, yeah, I can go about this forever, but the thing is, like, TurboGrafx 16 was always that expensive system, and I had a Nintendo and my friend had a Genesis, and we're like, ooh, TG16. Every time I see a TG16 game, I'm like, that's the good system. It wasn't, but it was. It just makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. But holy crap, can we get away from the software as a service and service as a service? Another one. That's what pissed me off. I had Netflix for so long because they had TV shows that I liked. I get Netflix, I have it for a year, TV shows are gone. It's on HBO. Or Hulu. Or Peacock. I was one of the first ones to cut cable, cause F cable, and I still say cable, cause cable. Good Lord. But I turn around and right now we have Hulu, Netflix, Peacock, Disney, Paramount, Amazon. I think that's it. And when you add all those up, it's not quite It's not quite as much as cable, but it's up there. If it's not, it's close. And holy cow. And I'm just pissed because they change shows around. Or heck, if you want South Park, you gotta have 2 streaming services now to get all of South Park. That's insane. That's insane. Can we go back to, I paid for this, I get this. Don't change the service, don't change the contract on me. I paid for what I wanted. You agreed to take my money. Give me what I paid for. I'll be happy. Like and subscribe.